Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is a Wednesday, and all of our guests today, including Andy Moog, standing by, brought to you by our title sponsor, Able Auctions, ableauctions.ca. The Western Canada Collectibles Experience goes this Friday to Sunday, at the Langley Event Center. NHL greats will be there, including Denny Savard, Steve Shutt, Brendan Morrison, and our guest right now, Andy Moog. Andy will be signing autographs Saturday from 1:30 to 2:30. Three-time Stanley Cup champion with the Oilers, won himself a Jennings, played for the Oilers, for Dallas, for Montreal, Canada's national team. We could go on, but we've only got so much time. Andy joins us now. Andy, thanks so much for doing this, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you. Yeah. My pleasure.
Hey, Andy, when you do events like these, and I'm sure you've done a few, do people ever ask you, what was it like playing with Wayne Gretzky?
Yeah, pretty common question for sure. More on the line of what was it like to be in the Oilers in the early 80s. And, it's always fun to reminisce with the fans who appreciated those teams in those years. So I never had any problem answering those questions.
So what was it like playing with Wayne Gretzky? Or maybe more specifically, for you being a teammate, what was it like practicing with him?
Well, you have to remember those early 80s, the team was like a junior team, for crying out loud. There's, a handful of guys that were 25 and older, but it was still just show up the rink and have some fun. And I'll tell you one thing, practices always ended with the sticks in a pile and Wayne collecting three sticks to that way and 3 sticks the other way. And that was the teams for the mini hockey game. So goalies were obliged to hang in there for as long as they wanted to play. And they were some of the most memorable and fun moments of practice in my career.
Oh, the sticks in the middle, like the frozen ponds of Red Deer, where I spent some time. Hey, Andy, what about the Oilers and the reputation of how much partying they did? We've all heard the stories. What can you tell us, without maybe getting into specifics?
Oh boy, always around to this side of the game. Well, listen, the player, we love to be on the road for sure. That was some of the best times we had as a team. That's why we were so close. I'll relate one story. When the bus rolled up to the hotel, wherever we were on the road, it was a common practice to have a team meeting at the nearest pub within 15 minutes. So the bag chuckers would go upstairs and fire their bags in and down the street, and you might go for a Coke and you might have a beer and you might be gone, but there was always a team meeting at the nearest pub the moment you hit the new city.
What happened to those days, Andy? Where have they gone? How come it's not like that anymore? Come on. Hey, Andy,
you talk about the fun days, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. For people who don't know, Andy, what are you up to these days?
Oh, I spent the last 7 years with Mike Johnson, our old friend from Vancouver, as a goaltending consultant for the Portland Winterhawks. That's been a really fun experience. We've had some great goaltenders come through our program in the last 7 years, and this will be my last season. My apprentice is fully capable in place right now. He is a former Portland Winterhawk alumni, Brendan Burke, son of Sean Burke. So I'm in good hands passing the torch to Brendan for him to take over. But it's been a fun ride with Mike Johnson and his staff over the past 7 years.
Andy, the goaltending position, how have you seen it evolve over the years to where it is today?
Well, honestly, that's one of my greatest challenges and greatest joys is trying to stay current with the evolutions of the position. I've really enjoyed it. Now, I've had my hand in the manufacturing side for a very long time, so I can appreciate from the manufacturing side what the equipment is allowing these players to do. And there's a great deal of courage and bravery built into the equipment now that wasn't there, say, in the early 80s, but that allows them to be a big blocking style, and certainly the lightweight and the mobility that the players have today is all related to their training and the equipment evolution as well.
Andy, the fascination with scouts for goaltenders 6'4", 6'5". The Canucks had a couple of goalies a couple of years ago. They were both 6'6". Do you see that at the bantam level as well? The big goaltenders getting that look?
Absolutely. It's a challenge, though, because Mike Johnson and the Winterhawks forever have had a philosophy about when they're drafting these Bantam players, or now U14 players, when they're drafting them, size doesn't matter. And that's the Portland Winterhawk philosophy. So you really have to get to know the family and understand the potential of that young goaltender to grow, because at 14 or 15 they may not have hit their stride yet, and they may hadn't had that growth spurt. So it's a challenge. So you dissect the discipline of the kid, his fundamentals, maybe his work ethic, and his passion for the game, and then you add that all into the equation. And there's several times over the years where you hope the young goaltender grows because he's such a great talent. And oftentimes it comes true.
Andy, once Canada was a factory for NHL goaltenders, not lately, last few years. Are you seeing anything at the minor hockey league, Western Hockey League level, or are we missing something?
Yeah, I don't believe those statistics, and I don't believe that data, to be honest. I think we still produce at a high level across the country. There's still great goaltending coaches and great goaltending programs that develop goaltenders. It's just for me, we tend to see this in terms of peaks and valleys. There'll be a trend, and there'll be a fascination with Euros, and then they'll start scouting North American goalies again, and so it goes up and down. And I think we're in a downtrend right now. Certainly, numbers will say that, but I think it'll rebound at some point with a batch of young North American goaltenders. The young kid is playing for Buffalo right now, Levy. There's an example of a young upstart. It goes back and forth, and I think right now the Euros have it, but we can all appreciate that it might switch the other way too.
And he's a Canadian. Andy, I'm looking at your hockey database page, 5'9", 170. That's what you're listed as. How would you do in today's game?
I'd probably be in the press box handing out notes to you guys.
Speaking of the old days, I like to do that. 7 years with Edmonton, then in 1988, and I know you'd spent some time with the Canadian national team, but you get traded from Edmonton to Boston, and then what? Like in the blink of an eye, you're up against the Oilers in the Stanley Cup final. Was that tough to wrap your head around?
Well, yeah, it was, to be honest, for sure. But I was really embraced by my Bruins teammates when I arrived at the trade deadline in '88, and it was a really great group of people there in Boston, and it was fun to be there. It was fun to start learning and knowing my new teammates, and game one of the Stanley Cup final in '88, Bruins and Oilers, and Terry O'Reilly gave me the nod after Reggie Lemelin had pretty much single-handedly beat the Devils in the conference semifinals. So I was a little surprised on that side. Not so surprised that the Oilers and the Bruins were in a final, but I was a little surprised that Terry O'Reilly gave me the nod. But he said he appreciated me being a good soldier, knowing that they traded for me, and Reggie was having the moment of his career, and nobody wanted to upend that. But I was a little surprised that I was playing game one, and here we are in the Stanley Cup final.
And Andy, I spent some time in the winter at a hockey tournament in Penticton, your hometown, and my God, they love their hockey there. Is there a better hockey city, with all due respect to everybody else, than Penticton?
I think we have all those great characteristics in Penticton. Passionate history, for sure, going back to the V's in '55, and then through all the success, the number of different junior programs that have had great success over the year, with the current batch of V's that are top of the BC Junior again and having another great season. I think people just support it, and they're passionate about it. And more importantly, for that junior team, they show up and they enjoy watching the V's play. So I think it's just a great city, obviously, to start with, and they're very passionate about their hockey programs, whether it's youth all the way to the junior programs.
Andy, it was tough enough. The Oilers were so great being a Canucks fan, and then they had the goaltending tandem of Andy Moog and Grant Fuhrer, just to make it, make us feel worse. That was one of the best tandems of all time. Talk about Grant Fuhrer. Do you keep in touch with him? How's he doing?
In fact, I just had some text exchanges with Grant this past week. He's getting a roster together for his charity golf tournament in Palm Springs. So that's something that we've talked about. That's in the future. I believe it's the mid-May. But anyways, it was a time when we didn't have goaltending coaches. There was
Right.
no full-time goalie coaches, and oftentimes Grant and I were our best coaches. We allowed each other to vent with each other when our frustrations boiled over, and it was good to have a mate in the net that was going through the same things you were going through in terms of being young and having that little experience. And I think that's probably why we had such a great bond, is that we didn't have anybody else to lean on for the most part, and so we leaned on each other.
Yeah, I find it surprising that Grant's golfing. Andy.
Big surprise.
Yeah, Andy, thanks for this, and all the best with everything. And we'll see you up here in Langley on the weekend. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys.
You bet.